Alrighty, good morning to you, everybody. Mark Sudduth here in Wilmington, North Carolina, welcoming you to a frozen edition. Man, my hands are cold. This is Talking Weather. It is now Tuesday, the 3rd of February, 2026. I'll be going solo today, so here's hoping. CJ is busy with his regular job, and so it's up to me to lead you through almost an hour of engaging and interesting weather talk as we examine different topics and so forth in the world of weather. So, the first part of this show is always the banter and just kind of wasting time part. But I don't know that I necessarily need to do that since a lot more people watch this after it's done than watch it live for now. And they can just skip ahead or, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, normally I do the just kind of banter part to let people get their notifications and then they log into the YouTube and they get settled in and they start watching. But we'll see. But yeah, it's cold here. I think we're in the upper teens last night here in Wilmington. Finally going to have a warm up coming. A lot of that snow is going to melt off today across the Carolinas after a big winter storm for the southeast, dropping frigid temperatures all the way into Florida. Been seeing all kinds of imagery, assuming it's real. We have to say that now in today's AI generative world. I guess it's the other way around, generative AI, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, I've seen pictures of people carrying like loads of iguanas. Like, what is that all about? And apparently it's real. The stunned iguanas getting collected down there in Florida. But you know what I have not seen yet? And we'll see if we can hunt this down for a future show. Are any of the Burmese pythons dead now out in the Everglades? Ron DeSantis had tweeted about that several days ago before the big cold air arrived, that one of the benefits of this frigid air could be the natural culling of those invasive Burmese pythons. So until we see people walking out of the Everglades with stacks of snakes, might be kind of hard to do because snakes are just mussels with a mouth. And or remember who was it? Ralphie that said on The Sopranos, sort of the other way around though, that cats are snakes with fur. So there you go. All right, let's get on with it. Show you what we've got today. Here is the title card. Talking weather, and oh, also, by the way, hopefully I have fixed my chair from sinking so I don't get shorter throughout the show. Those hydraulic chairs, eventually the hydraulics fails and you start sinking. You just get lower and lower, and you have to try to sit up straighter and straighter. Maybe I fixed it. We'll see. All right, so I'm Mark Sudduth leading you through a bunch of tabs up here today of things we got to talk about. All right, here are the main bullet points. Artemis, as I suspected, and of course, I'm not a rocket engineer, not even close, but I do like this kind of stuff. It's really neat. I was there to see Artemis 1 with my friend Brent and Mike, friends plural, and that was amazing. We saw it down in Titusville, and we were hoping to see Artemis 2 this coming up weekend, but we'll have to wait along with thousands of other people until March, and we'll talk about that more anyway. So Artemis delayed, and then I have some incredible video to show you of the snow from New Bern, North Carolina. And if you were up kind of late last night watching Fox Weather in the 9:45 p.m. block with Ari Sarsalari, you saw it. And I'll show you if you didn't see it. Man, it was something else, something that I've never seen before like this, especially using time lapse. Hopefully, a big pattern change coming for our friends out west and equally beneficial to us here back east. And then, of course, the old never trust the long range GFS or any model for that point to that point. And so I gave it its own bullet there, or any model. Long range GFS up to its shenanigans yesterday on the 18Z run. And if you haven't seen it, I'll show you. We'll talk about it. All right. First things first, though, we had high and low temperatures occur yesterday. So what were they? Well, three areas out in California shared the national high, down a little bit from the previous day, where I think it was, 92? Now we're down to 84 for the national high in Palm Springs. Been there. I'm assuming that's Ocotillo, or it could be Ocotillo, who knows, Wells, California, and Martinez Lake. All three of those locations with different weather stations. However, they report they are tied for the national high temperature of 84. And on the other side of the country, up in upstate New York, negative 23, no thank you, in Old Forge, New York. So, where are these places? I'd like to show you. Here's Palm Springs down here in the Coachella Valley. I was last here way back in 2023. Everything seems way back these days. It's just crazy. It really does. When what was Hurricane Hillary was coming up out of the Pacific, and it had made landfall pretty close to San Diego or somewhere. And I was out in this area. I had put a couple of cams out. It was something else. Literally intercepting a tropical storm in the desert out there. It was just amazing. Very high dew points. It literally felt like it. I stayed in Palm Springs or close by anyway. Then I was all out in this area. I think I was in Yucca Valley for one of these arroyos that became swollen with water. Anyway, I've been out there, but maybe you have not. So we will zoom down here and grab the Google Street View character, throw them in the middle of Palm Springs somewhere, and I'll show you. Oh yeah, that looks reminds me of when I was just there. So on this time when they took this is May 2017 that the Google Street View vehicle went through the area. Beautiful part of the country. Gets pretty hot during the summer. This, and you can time travel on Google Street View, by the way. This is 2023 in August, so this is not too far before. Maybe it was after, but this was close to when I was there for when Hillary came through. But yeah, there's the mountains in the distance and some high clouds, some monsoonal moisture. Maybe this was somewhere close to when that tropical system moved through. But that's Palm Springs. What were the other areas? So we also had Ocotillo Wells. So let's look that up too. There we go. Google knew what I was doing. So here's that area, Ocotillo Airport. And where is this? This is not too far away from where we just were, but just down the lake a bit, the Salton Sea. Actually, not a lake, it's a sea. And so this is where it was also 84 yesterday. And again, we'll drag our Google Street View person right to the middle of 78 here and near the airport. And kind of looks like we jumped into a scene out of Breaking Bad, right? So this is it. Very, very flat and deserty and kind of abandoned looking. It does. It looks like where you would meet like Mike Ehrmantraut to go over something with Gus Fring out there in the desert. Even though that was shot in New Mexico, Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul fans, you know what I'm talking about. Hey, there he goes. Maybe he's going to meet somebody out in the desert. But that's it. That's one of the areas, three of them that got 84 degrees for the national high yesterday. And it makes a lot of sense because we have a big fat ridge sitting out over the western part of the United States, the lower 48 as a whole. Kind of draw it in here for you and explain this a little bit. We'll use red and we'll use this. So yeah, we have troughing and northwest flow over the east with high pressure out over the west, and that is keeping things stagnant and the air sinking, and it's easy to get the higher temperatures here. Some of that air comes down off the mountains, maybe doing a little bit of compression, and there's just different ways you can get these high temps, and there you go. That's why. But the pattern will change. I promise. It's going to change sooner rather than later. What about the national low? Way out here in New York. Again, that's in upstate New York, as I showed you on the map here. And here's what it looks like on the ground. We'll get rid of that. I like to show you where the municipality boundaries are. That's why I have the red thing outlined there when we start out. So let's grab the old Google Street View guy and see what we got here in the middle of Old Forge, New York. Quite a bit different than California. So, interesting. You never know what you're going to see with the Google Street View. Clearly, the Street View person this particular day drove into the parking lot. Now, I'm trying to figure out why we have, I guess these are kind of like boats, little small, almost like paddle boards in this Tundra, or is that a Tacoma? Looks like a Tacoma. Looks like my truck, but I don't know if it's big enough to be a Tundra though. Anyway, obviously somebody's going to be hitting the water, and you can see some other kayaks over here. These are the clues when we visit these geographic places. Somebody is going to be enjoying some water sports, apparently, and somebody else right here. Or maybe that's the same Tacoma. Yeah, it is. It's just a different version of the street view. So off we go into this area. Look, another one. So there's a lot. So Weather Scott, if you're on the YouTube today as a moderator, let us know what is the deal. I guess this was taken July of 2024. So there's a lot of flags and patriotic stuff, as you would expect in a classic American town up here in upstate New York. But I guess a lot of people enjoy the water in this area. What body of water would that be? I'm very curious. Look at all the American flags that are out, and the crowds in this area. Very, very popular. When the Google Street View person went through um, up here in Old Forge, New York. So let's see where this is. Oh, duh. I mean, come on. I just wasn't paying attention. No, they're not going in the pond. They're going into this body of water here. It looks like First Lake, and then it drains down. Let's see, we get how many place names. That's unfortunate. I guess it's Old Forge Pond. There you go. It is Old Forge Pond. How about that? I just have to open my eyes sometimes. I was looking at the municipality boundaries and not these bodies of water around here. Guarantee you they're frozen. So I guess you could go out there with your snowmobile. Oh, look, some skiing. You can see the little red lines. This is the Macaulay Mountain Ski Center. That must be fun. Wow, that's pretty cool. And let's see if there's a Google Street View of that. No, not really, but we can click on some place markers and get a couple pictures. I guess during the off season, you can take the chair lifts and get some cool views like that. And in the on season, there you go. Gosh, that looks fun. It really does. Even at my ripe old age here, I could handle it. I'm only 55. I could do that. And that's what it looks like in the fall. And this is the area. This is where it's negative 26 yesterday for the, or sorry, negative 23 for the national low temperature, Old Forge and vicinity in New York. All right. So that's that segment. Let's see who all is on the chat today. Say hello to you guys. Lots of good opportunities for kayaking up in the Adirondacks. Exactly. I knew that Scott would have my back on that. Anybody that I don't recognize? I have cheese grits. That's great to see you. You'll make me hungry. And Linda Lynn dash G5D. I love these names on the YouTube, don't you? Good to see everybody on here and our usual folks from the UK and everywhere in between. Now that we're done with the national highs and lows, let's get into some interesting tweets that I saw. This coming from Denny's. Hmm. Um, I had to like look and make sure this was real. Due to the forecast of 6 more weeks of winter, we're kind of pissed to be introducing a new menu item. I just thought that was interesting. Puxatani platter, grilled groundhog medallions and with hash browns. And I had to look and I saw the little gold badge, but yeah, it's Denny's, the official Twitter. Uh, Sounds like our cat litter thing is going crazy out there. Um, Always something in the live show. Let's see if I can get one of the people that are in the house to go stop that because it's going to bother me. All right, I'm going to text my daughter Mallory, who is hanging out with us as she does her clinicals for PT school. Would you be kind enough to go make that noise stop because it is interrupting my YouTube show? So it's this automatic litter box and it scrapes. And you guys have seen the cats come through from time to time. Well, the door is closed today. So we don't have cats, but we have the litter box that is jammed and the mechanism is having issues. And if Mallory doesn't go fix it, maybe. All right. Thank you, Mallory. All right. Oh, very good. So, Hey, look, it even you've seen live TV where all sorts of shenanigans happens. It even happens on the live YouTube. Back to the tweet from Denny's though. Puxatawny platter coming to a Denny's near you. And please, says Ashley, and Denny says you're welcome. Nice. So there you go. People not happy with the groundhog predicting 6 more weeks of winter, but of course we know it's just fun and games. Really no science behind it. Don't worry about it. The winter is not predicted by a rodent. All right, this was interesting. I saw this and I had to verify and make sure that this was happening. And it made sense because of some of the other stuff I'm going to show you here. Down in the Caribbean, the cold air made it, but it didn't make it far enough east to get to the Virgin Islands. So, extreme temperatures around the world, I'm sure there is a Twitter for everything, good, bad, and ugly, I'm sure. And this was interesting. Extreme temperatures around the world. This is a climatologist and weather historian by M. Herrera. And it sounds like the litter thing is back at it. I may have to go out there and unplug it. Um, Mallory, okay, second request. Can you just unplug it, please? All right. I'm assuming you guys hear it, and it's very annoying to me, so it must be annoying for you. I'll be right back. Hold my calls. Bye. That is one way to take care of business. You see, every time CJ isn't here, everything just goes to the toilet. Uh, Time to get a new cat litter box, automatic deal. Anyway, let's move on, shall we? So, this is something you don't see every day. Mark having to leave the show to go turn off the automatic litter box. Actually, hardly ever. That part is true. But seriously, down in Guantanamo Bay, they had a record cold low temperature, and that was 57 degrees Fahrenheit, or for those on the other side that like to look at the metric system, Celsius. That is metric, right? Anyway, 13.9 Celsius. But it was a record warm minimum February hot there in Charlotte Amalie down in the Virgin Islands at 81 degrees. And it's too bad I can't get Brent, who is very close by there in St. John, on the Zoom today to talk about that. He regularly sends me pictures as Brent Lynn, good friend of the project. He assisted with that incredible Michael saga back in 2018 and has gone out with us to do other amazing things over the years. And he lives down there, has a business working on people's sewers and whatever. And the name of his business, by the way, is called, appropriately enough, Backed Up. And he repairs the plumbing for the rich and famous. And then he comes up to the lower 48 to chase storms with us. Anyway, he regularly sends me these pictures of him down in some hole that he has created to fix somebody's plumbing, and he is just dying, sweating profusely. He goes through white t-shirts. He is single-handedly propping up the white t-shirt business, I assure you, because it's so darn hot down there. Those dew points get really high. Anyway, 81 degrees for the minimum low temperature. That was a record February hot night. So it didn't get below 81 degrees Fahrenheit. That's important because the hotter it is at night, the harder it is for people to adjust, including Brent. Isn't it nice that it's nice and quiet? All righty. So there you go. 57 record low in Guantanamo. And we're going to talk about the Cayman Islands, which is just off the map there in just a moment. And a record February high temperature for the low of 81. Thought I would share that with you. And we got through it. Meanwhile, now this is really interesting here in terms of how the pattern has been so wild for the east and leaving out the west. This is out of National Weather Service Salt Lake City. They've only had a trace of snow in January at SLC. Many cities across the U.S. received more snow. Can't talk today either. than Salt Lake City, even as far south as the Florida Panhandle. So these are areas that have had more snow than Salt Lake City, which has registered a full trace. Now, before we get into this, let me give you a little bit more on this. A good friend of mine, Tracy, went up to Southwest Utah to do some snowmobiling, and there was not much snow there either. So they are definitely having a big time deficit. So here are other areas that have had more snow than Salt Lake City, almost like one of those late night bits. David Letterman would do something like this, right? Little Rock, Arkansas, 6.7 inches. Okay. Dallas, Texas, beating Salt Lake City at 2.4 inches. Columbus, Ohio, now that's not too hard to believe, 13.1. Bismarck, 5.6, so forth and so on. Reno, just to the west by, I don't know, about a half a day's drive, something like that, maybe more, at 1.5 inches. But even that for Reno, at 1.5 inches in January, that is very low. Boise, Idaho, also very low, not even an inch, but at zero point 0.6. Rapid City, I've been there, 2.7 inches. Salt Lake City, just a trace. Marianna, Florida. Now that is where we start to get into the realm of the absurd. 1.3 inches down in Marianna. Pensacola had a trace, tying Salt Lake City for the snowfall for the month of January. Morehead City, 11.4 inches. Raleigh, 3.4. And then Greenville, South Carolina, in the upstate there, 5.5 inches, beating out solidly our friends in Salt Lake City. So, yes, there has been quite a split in the pattern that has caused all of this. All right, very interesting stuff. Even Atlanta, Georgia, I think my chair is still trying to sink. I swear it's not one thing, it's another around here. Atlanta, Georgia, zero point 0.2 inches, beating out Salt Lake City. That's bonkers. It really is. All right. Even here in Charleston, we've had 1.1. In Savannah, Georgia has had a half inch. Stop rubbing it in our faces. That's funny. El Nina. That's funny. Nope, not quite. Little Rock, Arkansas, 6.7. Oh, I thought that was over. No. Anyway, so yeah, we have to flip this pattern or we're going to have some problems seriously out west. We need to talk about that. All right. Just thought I'd show you this. NC 12 still closed as of this morning. This is posted just shy of 8:30 from the North Carolina DOT out there, the NC 12 region. And this is from the Nor'easter, Highway 12. You look at that and you go, really? How does that even ever survive? Well, because they do a pretty darn good job. A lot of money gets put into keeping the Outer Banks running. A lot of history out there, a lot of controversy too. A lot of people want to just see it return to nature, but that's not going to happen. And so the DOT does what they can to fight back Mother Nature. And sometimes Mother Nature wins. This is a view very close to the visitor center out there at the Pea Island. I've been there. Actually, sorry, this is Ocracoke North. My fault. But regardless of whether or not I got the pictures right, DOT 12 says it's still closed out there for the Highway 12 region of the DOT for North Carolina because of the overwash from the storm. And that makes it almost 4 days. So had I gotten out there Saturday to put cameras in Buxton like I wanted to, I would still be stuck out there today. So, I'm kind of glad I didn't. But anyway, they're still closed. Hopefully they will reopen later today or perhaps tomorrow. All right, so I want to show you this. I know that A. McDoom is on the YouTube chat today, and this is the only way that I could get these pictures to come up to show you guys. This is Grand Cayman, and let me just show you a few of these. We're going to enlarge them. So that's Cayman, as they call it, and these are your sister islands. And you have these streaks of clouds. That is the cold air advection. I know that Ari Sarsalari was talking about this quite a bit on Fox Weather, the overnight show, which I was on a couple times in a row lately. And that cold air made it all the way down into the Caribbean, and that northerly wind has brought all kinds of calamity to the area. This is what it looks like at the surface, and that is a telltale sign in the winter of that cold air advection. In the summer, You can see that and you go, ooh, it must be very humid out there. Not the case during the winter time. That just looks cold. And you got to understand, these were taken down in Grand Cayman. All right. So here are some other pictures from the area that had some big waves coming in and they hit the bulkheads and whatever. No, these are not AI generated. No, sirree. And Mr. McDoom is on the YouTube chat today and he can tell you all about it. So big waves coming in, kind of problematic down there for the cruise ships trying to come in, if there were any. And Adam took one of our cameras that we gave him a couple years ago out. I'll show you some shots from that. But yeah, they've had big run up of these waves leading to some flooding problems in some of the areas. These are some pictures that he shared with me on our direct messaging. West Bay and the Cayman Islands got the hoodies going on. This is crazy. It does not happen very often. Guys, it's cold. Absolutely. And it's not, it's like in the 50s and 60s, I think, something like that. So it's all relative. But yeah, this is what it looks like in and around the area as of late. And then he took the GoPro cam system that we gave him, he set it out, and look what happened to it. It actually got some frost on the camera there. I guess that's what that is. Is that frost? No, it can't be frost. Maybe it's, what is it, Adam? You're on the chat. There's no way it could be frost. Mallory just responded and said, what noise? That's funny. So Mr. McDoom, let me ask him, Adam, comma, what was that on the camera, question mark? Spray, question mark? Surely it didn't get into the 30s period. There we go. Just posting that on the chat in case, because there's a buffer, there's a delay. But the camera did get some schmutz on it. That's what it is. It's that schmutz. Frost. That's funny. And then, so let's see. Well, maybe there was some frost. What the heck? That's clearly frost. Well, Adam can answer on the YouTube chat. Oh, that's down in the Bahamas and Jamaica. Ice and frost in the Bahamas and Jamaica. Maybe there was frost. So anyway, in the area, fish washing up that were stunned from the cold. So yes, even our friends in the Caribbean and of course Jamaica, part of that, and in the Bahamas, very cold temperatures from this remarkable stretch of cold weather that sent a powerful cold front and the streaks of clouds. You can see that there. That's something else. All right. I saw this from the camera. I couldn't believe it. I ran the camera through time-lapse mode, our Nest cams that we use. This site, by the way, I've had a camera out for several hurricanes, including Florence. First time I'd ever put anything out there, that was back in 2018. And in Hurricane Florence, and I'm not kidding, it's on our documentary, Tracking the Hurricanes 2018, the Neuse River here, this is Union Point Park, it rose about 9 to 11 feet, just depending on exactly where you were. And our camera was mounted, I'll show you, let me just draw on this. Our camera for that storm was mounted on this pole over here, and the water came up to about right there, all through this. And the way it's all elevated, whatever, I think it was close to 11 feet, 9 to 11, something like that. It's in the tropical cyclone report from the NHC, but our camera had waves going over the top of it, and it was mounted up high because we stood up on top of this little deal here. Bugs in here. How could that be? It's winter because we have lizards over there and they like that warm water. My son, who has moved out and now is an EMT or paramedic, whatever, he's got geckos, and their house is right over there in my office. And the little bugs that like the warm water come visiting me. We have to get CJ back on here, I swear. Anyway, the surge there was about 9 to 11, but this video doesn't show surge of water. Instead, this is really cool. It's the Aeolian process by which you erode, transport, and deposit some kind of solid material through the wind. And in this case, it's the snow. You can see it moving along, and once it got dark, it really became prominent. It's just amazing to watch that happen. It looks like water, but that's not. It is the solid acting as a fluid as the snow moves along in these little small drifts, finally piling up. Does this have a repeat? Yes, it does. Nice. So you can see the snow does pile up over here into these pretty solid drifts, and it's going to repeat itself and start over. Hard to believe this is where we had a 9 to 11 foot surge. And here again, it's snowing, and you can see the snow moving along. That's called the Aeolian process. And again, you can get it with dust and sand in the desert, pretty much anything that can go airborne. And out in the west, in any arid regions of the world, when you get that Aeolian process going, sometimes that'll help to sculpt sandstone, for example. So you get these amazing um, structures out in the desert southwest, by the way, from the Aeolian process, sort of mixing in with geomorphology and other stuff related to geology. So, anyway, just thought I'd show you that. I thought it was one of the neatest things I've ever captured with the camera. And this is a big reason why we put these cameras out there. You never know what you're going to see, and I thought that was really cool, so I thought I'd share it with you. On Fox Weather last night, they also pulled up a shot from the New Bern Airport where you could see a very similar thing happening out on the tarmac. The New Bern Airport, not too far from this location. So again, the wind coming along, kind of transporting everything along in this snow version of an Aeolian process. All right, pretty good stuff there, and I think I tweeted it as well. So yep, let's move along. And what do we got next? Yep. So in the Artemis delayed until March bullet point, here we are. Unfortunately, uh, they ran into some problems with leaking and other things. So again, I'm not an engineer, clearly, and I think that maybe, just maybe, the cold weather, the extreme cold weather that they had, it just would make sense that it has a little bit to do with this. Whether or not that comes out, I'm not saying there's anybody hiding anything, just when it was that cold, it was like 25 degrees out on the launch pad, if I'm not mistaken, certainly close to that. That's got to have some problems. It has to have ramifications here. And I'm really happy that they are going to do what they can to make sure this is the most safe possible. All right, so it's delayed until March, and that's that. So somebody that does know a lot more than me about this, you guys might be following Eric. A lot of people do, getting close to 500,000 followers. Eric Berger, senior space editor at Ars Technica, likes rockets, of course. So this is a very poignant post here. There are many, many problems with the SLS rocket architecture, but one of the biggest is its extremely low flight rate. Now, I do know enough about rocketry to tell you that SpaceX, with their Falcon system, and even Starship, are launching way, 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 way more, obviously, than NASA is with the Artemis program. We've done one, and now this is two. SpaceX, you guys probably know off the top of your head, some of you, how many they've launched already this year. One had a problem last night, and they got the Starlinks deployed, but the deorbit, whatever, like it had an issue or something. But that's rare. But they get to keep doing it. Private space company gets this just a little different, and they're not putting people up there yet. But yes, to Eric's point, the extremely low flight rate makes every fueling and launch an experimental situation rather than an operational procedure. So that's one advantage that SpaceX does have over the NASA program here is they can keep on going. Again, you're sending 4 people up this time around. So yeah, makes perfect sense. If I'm needing a cardiac bypass, I prefer the person who is doing it to do them frequently. Yeah, the rocket is a jobs program, not a space program. That's funny. Any expendable launcher that launches less than every other month is far from its optimum. So most people are in agreement with all of this, and people are the cargo. So you got to get it right. So we'll monitor and see what they do. They got some leaking issues to solve and other stuff. Hydrogen leaks. Yep, got to fix that before we can return to the moon. All right, so what is it looking like today? Before we get to that, I do want to peek in to the YouTube chat and say hello to everybody. Hello, everybody. Thanks, Scott. Aeolian process. There you go. Scott found it. Our moderator threw it in there on the chat for everybody. So let's see. Frost in some places in the Northern Caribbean, uncommon, but it can happen. Appreciate the insight there, Mr. McDoom. Yep, some of it was spray, and yeah, definitely some frost, quite notable for the Bahamas and Jamaica. So I call that schmutz, that film that gets on our cameras sometimes, mostly salt spray. I refer to that as schmutz, SCHMUTZ. There you go. So at least the national weather map today is a lot more tame than we have seen lately. A few special weather statements here and there, but that's about it. Winter weather advisory across parts of the Ohio Valley. And then this is some fog and some more fog and some more fog. But you have to go to Hawaii for there to be anything really interesting. All right, so we'll do that. High surf warning and coastal flood statements, high surf advisory, because if we look at the surface analysis, way out here, and this is the way the Mercator projection works. Oh, I just spotted something. There's a giant shark out in the. Come on, the kid in me is going to goof off in class. There you go. There's your giant shark outline. I'll draw it for you, and it'll disappear. Thank goodness. But no, that's just the way one of the isobars is folded, whatever. It just caught my attention. I couldn't help myself. But there is a huge hurricane force low with an attendant cold front, and there are the Hawaiian Islands. And as this passes through, it's bringing quite the inclement weather situation to the area. You got a developing storm, a huge gale center, and you've got these massive storms that form out of over the Pacific, and they send an incredibly strong northerly swell towards the islands, and that's why Oahu out here, the North Shore, is so popular, at least one of the reasons. And so, yeah, that's why we are seeing what we are seeing. Let me see if I can get rid of this. Oh, I got rid of the whole thing, but let's just go back here. We'll do the weather.gov and we'll click on Hawaii. So that's why we're having these issues out here. And you can see it on the satellite, that trailing cold front. There it is. Man, that's a terrible. Come on, we got to do better with the satellite too here. Our radar and satellite animations, we can do better than this, people. Anyway, that's why the Big Island and the other islands out here are under these various and sundry advisories, whereas the rest of the lower 48, even Alaska, looking pretty good. And we needed a break. We did. But let's look down here in Central Florida real quick and see what this frost advisory is still from Gainesville down to Ocala. And that includes our friend Karen over in Groveland. Still kind of frosty out there. Now, that's a pretty satellite picture. Let me zoom in on that if it'll cooperate. Yep, you can see the snow cover still in the Carolinas and the high clouds moving through, and the Gulf with its cold air sitting over the warm waters. And oh, yeah, you can look at that all day. That's pretty cool stuff. All right, moving on along. We already talked about Eric Berger's tweet. Dylan, always bringing the bad news. It looks like, hey, you didn't have to worry about hurricanes for Florida this year. But he posted this not too long ago. This morning, we're not done with the cold yet, Florida. A strong cold front will sweep across the Sunshine State on Thursday. We do have one more round. And then behind it will turn sharply colder again with more lows in the 30s and 40s on Friday morning. Dylan is in the Miami area. The iguanas still, I mean, we might lose some iguanas after all this is said and done, which is a bummer. But again, maybe we can get rid of some of those Burmese pythons. All right. Not spreading rumors, just hearing there is a hit out for this guy. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's get rid of that person, that winter thing, and the groundhog. We don't need them. So pattern change is coming. Dylan's tweet notwithstanding, this is where we are now, and this really explains a lot. Let me dig back into the telestrator, and this time we will leave it up, and we're going to change it to this pink color. So out here in the west, there's your big high pressure area, and that's why it's so toasty in southern Cal. Northwest flow over the pretty much the entire eastern, almost two-thirds of the U.S., but certainly the eastern half. And that's just draining down cold air out of Canada. And over here you have northerly flow with some of these pieces of energy that come digging in. And that's a big part of the pattern. That is where we are now. As we move out, this is 500 millibars, by the way, through the next few days, there's that next piece that comes through right there, and a very clear, sharp trough, bringing more cold air straight south here. I mean, I mean, you're getting longitudinal flow with a strengthening ridge out west just for a few more days, one more shot of cold air for the deep south, and then we're finally going to flip the pattern. All right. So you just got to wait for it. And then we do finally switch things over with more troughing out west, and a big fat ridge starts to build up over the Caribbean and parts of the east. And our trough shifts to the extreme northeastern United States. And finally, some troughing, lowering of the heights, all that out west with ridging developing in between here. You love to see it, especially with how miserable it's been in the east. And with this, it will bring finally as well the chance for some precip. This is what our thumbnail is based off of. This guy right here in the west, some much needed snow and rain at the lower elevations. Finally, this is about 8 days out. You can see this evolve on the maps here. And then that's really something else. I have to switch over to the western U.S. Look at that. I mean, what in the world? That comes in, it's a deep storm, drops in. It's a good thing that's not going to make it all the way into California. It kind of bounces off the ridge out there. But my goodness, that definitely catches your eye. And if we had this a little bit more to the east over here, dropping in like that, you could probably have some big flood problems here for Southern California. So you have to watch this. It's far enough out in time, kind of like when you're talking about tropical systems or a big winter storm. If this is able to come more east, we could be looking at some issues here for California. Either way, this could create some big surf. So we will certainly be watching that in the days to come. But back to the lower 48, the CONUS here, as we call it, moving it on out through the next couple of weeks. Yeah, we finally flipped the pattern, and then it tries to flip back again. Maybe you can see the heights fall. Ugh, just annoying. Please go away. But hey, the groundhog, he's earning his cash there, because sure enough, out to February 16th, at least according to the GFS, the pattern collapses again, and we are right back to that stupid northwest flow. Like, come on, please go away, Eastern Trough. It leaves for a little bit, and then it comes right back, at least according to this one run of the GFS. Then we get a little bit more zonal there as we move through, and some more troughing out west. So maybe transient with these deep troughs, and they're not going to be stuck. But this is way, way out in time. Lots can change. We'll just have to wait and see. All right. But I think the pattern change for out west, since it's within the next week to 10 days, is going to happen. And we develop some ridging over the east. So at least a temporary lull in this ridiculous winter weather. All right. What do we got next? Oh, yeah. I hadn't done this in a while. It is Tuesday, and it is Tech Tuesday. We do have segments on here from time to time, especially when the weather news is kind of slow. This was pretty cool. I want to show you this. And the tech that I'm going to talk about will be our satellites, and how grateful we are to our satellites and the ability to overlay cool graphics depending on the app or whatever, the website interface, all kinds of stuff. Now, this is related, and it is a bummer that CJ couldn't make it today, but he's got his other work to do. I understand. But I saw this from our friend Adam Lucio, who's a storm chaser and very good at it too, very well respected in the industry. CJ and I were on this storm. Let me give you some backstory. We were out looking for hail. This was last year, because that was the whole goal of our hail project, right? Our Tacoma outfitted with this gigantic hail guard, all these different instruments that we had to collect hail, to measure it, catalog it. We had a roof panel with us from IBHS. Like, we were going after the big hail. Anything, here we go, like the size of my electrical tape roll. Big hail, bigger than that even. I want the baseballs, the softballs. We were ready. This setup in southern Nebraska, not too far from North Platte, was ripe. I was communicating with a colleague of ours in Colorado, and he was telling us, head south near North Platte. Temperatures are in the 90s. The Cape is unbelievable, that convectively allowing potential energy Cape. All the ingredients were there for monster hail. There was a low tornado risk for this day, not zero, but it was definitely low. And lo and behold, as we got to North Platte, the mesoscale discussion went out. Stuff was getting ready to initiate. It was late afternoon on whatever day this was. I think it's on the 17th of June. And we met up with a couple of our other friends, Bryce and Paige. You probably know them on the YouTube and the social media. And we had lunch, and the storms were firing to the south along this boundary. And we asked them, "Where are you headed?" They said, "We'll probably head south near Wellfleet." And CJ and I decided to go north away from the storm to let it mature and develop the big hail. I really wanted to get under one of these supercells as it was starting to produce the hail. So many times they mature and kind of exhaust all the hail and they collapse. And we just needed to give it time. And so we drove away from this storm. What did it do? It went on to drop one of the most magnificent photogenic tornadoes you have ever seen. So the tech here is this analysis from Adam that the satellite and the overlay shows us, okay? This is the ridiculous boundary that fired the Wellfleet tornado. And we learned a lot too, by the way, that these storms, when they anchor on these boundaries, it gives you that extra oomph to get tornado genesis, which we're going to be switching more to studying that this year. We'll talk about that in March. Anyway, it's all related. Stay with me, people. I can't think of another case, he says, off the top of my head, where either side of a boundary was in the 90s, let alone the mid to upper 90s. And it was. It was very, very hot that day. That helps to explain the extreme height of that tornado. Also interesting to note the storm initiated as that high level band of clouds moves in. Insolation, so the incoming solar radiation plus the shortwave kicker set things off. So here's the animation that Adam put together. And we were there. We were up in North Platte, and this sucker fired up. And it was about, let me stop this animation. We'll do it right here. Let's see if this will let me play. So right about here is when CJ and I left North Platte. And we were like, we're going to drive away from this, let it mature, because we thought to our, we're not complete idiots. We thought incorrectly that as most storms do, that it would move southwest to northeast. But what we didn't know, because we were not hunting tornadoes that day, we didn't understand that the boundary would be basically what it gets anchored onto. And no, it did not go to the northeast. Another piece broke off, but the storm itself stayed almost stationary, very slow moving, riding that boundary just south of North Platte. And we missed the big tornado. He and I drove around the area, came in from this way, and saw the parent supercell. I've got video of it somewhere. We'll show you that. Maybe Thursday, Throwback Thursday, will be a relevant time. CJ will be on then too, hopefully. But yeah, the amazing structure, everything that we can see from the satellite analysis. And I appreciate that Adam posted this for all of us to kind of learn from. Yeah, so the Tech Tuesday is satellite analysis and the available tools that we have. Got to use them, got to understand them, and do better out there when we are chasing planes, thunderstorms, because we missed one of the most incredible things probably would have ever seen. And we didn't even get any hail either. So there you go. Appreciate you sharing that, Adam. Let's see if there's any pictures of the tornado itself from Wellfleet. Let me look it up. Wellfleet tornado. Hopefully the Twitter search, Wellfleet tornado. There it is. That's the Wellfleet tornado. We missed that. Drove away from it in search of hail, and we didn't even get the damn hail. Amazing stuff, though. It really was. It was a bummer that we missed it, but oh well, live to see another day. All right? All right. So this is how we're going to wrap up today's show. A friend of ours, Mike Cornelius, sent me an image yesterday. I think I was at the store or something. I don't know. I was out, and I was just like, nope, not having it. And it was of the GFS, because the GFS long range run 18Z yesterday. This is hilarious. Matt Weaver posted this. It's a long range GFS run, so I'm not telling you to put any stock into it whatsoever. But a hurricane on the day of the Daytona 500 after a winter storm assaulted the Clash is hilariously diabolical. Yeah, and I mean, wait until I show you how it got to this. That's what's more crazy. And I want to be very clear that I told everyone not to put any stock into this. I'm just being silly and having fun with one model run given the week we've had. Please don't do the super serious thing about everything on the internet. Yeah, exactly. And this is where I give him full, like, again, not gatekeeping. It's not me to give permission to anybody. But yes, please share stuff like this because it is so utterly ridiculous. And it just shows, honestly, this is a good teaching moment, the vulnerability of our models and their limitations. So this is the GFS 18Z run from yesterday, and we're looking at the 850 millibar vorticity. There's that front that comes through right down there that brings more cold weather. But way out in time here, another sharp piece of energy, a huge trough digs in, and you see all of this vorticity stretched out all the way down to the Gulf of Tehuantepec. And then for whatever reason, the model just leaves it all there, bundles it up within just 6 hours, and creates some kind of a weird hybridish cyclone deal in the Big Bend area. Not going to happen, but it's just showing you how the model sometimes can take the heat that it sees and the energy and do unrealistic things with it, right? So this is where we learn how stuff doesn't work at the same time that you see absolute hilarity. So looks like there could be a huge piece of energy dropping south with this next trough, but even that is 270 hours out. And maybe I'll be optimistic here. This big, strong ridge that you see will be even stronger. And like, come on, let's do it. and ward off such troughs from even getting this far east in the first place. That would be fine with me. I cannot say the four-letter word that my friend Jesse used the other day. Um, yeah, I remember what he said. I'm going to have to make sure I bleep myself when I do this. I was telling him a couple days before this last big storm, man, looks like we're going to get walloped. I'm all for it. Here we go, whatever. He said, yeah, and then winter can bleep off. And you can just figure out what he said. Yep, and then after that, winter can bleep off. So hopefully this will help winter bleep off is that strong ridge that I see over the Atlantic there, and we can keep this vorticity from ever even making it that far south and east in the first place. So for now, it's just rumors, and it's quite all right. I'm glad Matt shared it because it's kind of funny. Yep. This would be the most blame weaver of all time. All right, there you go. So that's talking weather for today. Before I let you go, let's just jump on the chat real quick, say hello to everybody, and see who we have. Any questions from you guys? Reminds people of the 1993 No Name Storm. Yep, that's somewhat, yeah, that was a big mid-latitude system for sure. Also, root rhymes with root. I like that. I like just looking back and seeing what you guys are saying. Hey, we got Robert on here. Rare snows here in uh, Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, and Hagerstown, Maryland. Winter officially over since November. Rarely snows there. Yeah, it's been a really weird winter. I just like to look back and see who all was on here. So that'll do it for today. If you missed it, we had the automatic litter pan go crazy down our hallway here in the hurricane track household. Other than that, though, no other calamities. I think we pretty much made it through. Tomorrow, CJ should return with me, and all will be back to normal, hopefully. And we'll see what the weather holds for the coming days and weeks ahead. And with it being Wednesday, we call that our Whatever Wednesday. So I'll come up with something interesting to talk about just off the top of my head for sure. Maybe something related to my favorite genre of film or something. We'll see. Beyond that, I want to thank you for tuning in. It's always a pleasure to see you guys, especially on the chat. I appreciate it. Don't forget to help the algorithm do its thing by liking the video, commenting, engaging, all that good stuff. But honestly, it's just good to hang out with you folks and talk about the weather with you as if we were all together in person. I'm Mark Sudduth, Wilmington, North Carolina. I'll see you tomorrow on Talking Weather.